Joe, another big comment that's coming out of Big 12 Media Days is one that I am honestly, and we talked about this, you and I talked about this a little bit already. I am shocked that people are taking this as what Joey McGuire, the Texas Tech head coach, said this week in reference to LSU and wanting to do a home and home with LSU. I'm dead serious when I say this as someone who covers that team for a full-time living. I am stunned. I really am that people are taking Joey McGuire's context or comments and saying, oh, no, he's taking a shot at LSU. But Joey McGuire did come out and say this week that, listen, I heard Brian Kelly this offseason talk about wanting to go play Big Ten teams. Well, hey, man, we're here. We will play a home and home with you as well. What is wrong with that? Everybody keeps putting on social media, Joey McGuire takes a shot at Brian Kelly and LSU. That's a shot? Asking to play a home and home is a shot now?
Right. Well, this is what I'm like so perplexed by why some people are kind of framing it this way. I mean, I like when coaches approach things like this. I really do. And they're just very direct, like, hey, we should be playing teams in the SEC. We should be playing teams in the Big Ten. I think that should have been, not to tie us back to your mark, that should have been the whole talking point, is that, like, hey, we want to build more relationships with the other conferences and to play one another, and we want to prove that we're worthy of getting multiple teams in the playoff. Like, that would have been the better argument and the better statement to make. And that's what Joey McGuire is doing right here. He's saying that, like, hey, I think that our team, our program is building and trending in such a direction that we could show up and we could compete with LSU. He didn't say that we would wax LSU. He didn't say that. That's not what the statement was. But I think he's just trying to push, like, hey, instead of scheduling Clemson or scheduling Florida State or USC, why not schedule us? USC tried to back out of the damn game that you had with LSU. Why not try and play us? We want to play you. Neutral site, wherever it is. That he obviously didn't say that, but I would like for more of this to happen. And I stand by what I said when we talked about the college football playoff model moving to 16. I think that schedules for teams should have built-in opponents that are, if you're in the SEC, you have to play one Big 12 team, one ACC team, one Big 10 team, and the rest of if you've got one more spot, you play a G5. And there should be some sort of rotation based on where you finished in the standings. The prior year is who you have to play in said opposing conference. So if you finish at the top, you have to play the team at the top. If you finish at the bottom, you have to play the teams at the bottom. It solves that issue.
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever do that. I actually agree with your motto, but they won't. I don't think they'll ever do that. He did take Brian Kelly out of context. Just for clarity.
What was the
all right. Do you remember when BK went on with Pete Thamel and Reese Davis on the Game Day podcast? And it was the one where they took it out of context with BK about Arch Manning. They asked him about, hey, BK, who would you rather, Garrett Nussmeier or Arch Manning? Well, what did you think he was going to say? Well, come on. What did you think he was? I'm going to take Arch Manning over Garrett Nussmeier. But he goes on a 2-minute elaboration of how much when he recruited and how much he loved Arch, whatever. BK was asked a question by Pete Thamel in reference to, Coach, have you seen the thing between Tony Batiti and Greg Sankey on potentially playing the Big Ten in week 1 every year? And he said, yeah, actually, Greg Sankey talked to me about it as I coached in the Midwest at Notre Dame for a long time. What do you think about this? BK gave an approval. That's what BK was talking about. Like, hey, listen, I was asked a question by my commissioner. What do I think about this? What are some things we could do around this? And he answered it. Sounds good. The clip, though, came from On3 and 247 and all these other news outlets that said, Brian Kelly says he wants to play Big Ten teams. That's not what he said. It was around the conversation that you and I have had on the show in reference to Tony Batiti and Greg Sankey wanting to join together and play against one another in week 1. That was the context. However, going to the Jerry McGuire situation, Joey McGuire, did I say Jerry McGuire, like the freaking movie? The Joey McGuire situation, Joe, I'm honestly stunned. I don't know what else to say. Dude, listen to me. No one has gone out and played other teams outside their conference more than LSU. Legitimately. Yeah. It does not exist. They got Clemson. They had Florida State. They had USC. They have SMU. They will go and play anybody. And I think that Texas Tech, for what it's worth, a team that's spending a crap load of money and a team that wants to try to use their financial resources to take over the Big 12 is saying, hey, what if we get LSU in a home and home? LSU is a big enough brand. It's local enough or close enough where people will travel. Joe, Houston, outside of the state of Louisiana, Houston houses the most LSU alumni in the country. It's not remotely close. It's like 1 million alumni live in the city of Houston that went or like LSU. By the way, my number 3 audio podcast, as an example, is not in the state of Louisiana. It's in the state of Texas. It's in Houston, Texas. So you get to a place where I understand what Joey McGuire is trying to do here. By the way, why not? I mean, there's no LSU fan on this planet that wouldn't say, hey, man, we considering the reason that what we've looked like in week 1, we will definitely go to Texas Tech and play you. Thank you. I mean, he's shooting his shot. Why this has become a narrative of him taking allegedly a shot at BK, which it's not a shot. If you listen to what he said, it's not a shot. All he said was, hey, Brian Kelly says he wants to go play Big Ten teams. Hey, coach, I'm right here. We'll play you. How else do you read that? Because that's what he's saying, Joe.
Exactly. I mean, extremely simply put, I would like to see more opportunities for matchups like this. I wish, I feel as though the SEC doesn't, and the Big Ten don't really schedule a lot of,
outside of LSU and USC last year and Texas and Ohio State this year. I don't really remember Big Ten. No, because Notre Dame was the team that played Georgia, wasn't it? Y'all played Georgia a couple years ago, right? It was, y'all played Georgia the year the national champion.
There's really not a lot of Big 12 matchups with the SEC. So
is Ohio State and Notre Dame the only Midwest teams that will play SEC teams in the regular season?
I'd have to think on that. Michigan's playing Oklahoma this year.
All right, Michigan. Yeah. Well, Wisconsin
and they play Texas.
Wisconsin and Alabama. Yeah. So there are some. It's
just not frequent. It's not very often. No, at the end of the day, we should encourage this to happen more. I think it's good for the sport. It eliminates the arguments that we have when these teams have no intersection whatsoever, and we're kind of just guessing. Stop scheduling FCS and G5 teams and having 3 of those on your schedule. I'm sick of it. I think everybody should play competitive hard schedules all the way through.
Yeah, you know what else it would tell? It would be a death knell for the Big 12 and ACC.
How so?
Because Joe, we you know what's going to happen there. The Big 12 and the Big 12 and the ACC, if they partner up with the Big 10 and the SEC and they do something like that and they're losing majority of these games, it kills their conference. At least right now they have.
I wouldn't go as far as to say it's killing them. I wouldn't say it would kill them.
Joe, losing ultimately killed the Pac-12. Not getting playoff teams in and not being competitive ultimately is what killed them.
No. That's not.
I don't want to hear the TV argument.
The TV argument. It is the argument. It's the only thing.
Joe, they didn't have. They didn't win. They haven't won a national title. The West Coast hasn't won a national title since 2004.
They still have
21 years.
They still got a team to a national championship more recently than the SEC. So I don't agree with that. I think that fell apart because of a buffoon.
And the SEC got their head coach.
The dumbass that was running the Pac-12 thought that the conference was worth vastly more than the TV deal that was on the table for them. And he turned it down without having any options on the table. And it fell apart because of that. I don't think that it would kill them. I think it would open doors for kids in other states that go to those football games to see more teams across the country. I think.
Yeah, could you imagine I do. That's interesting. You bring up that last point. Could you imagine Ohio State? Well, Texas, Ohio State, the Ohio State fathers out there that bring their sons to that game. Hey, Dad, remember that time we went to the Texas game? Yeah. That is you are very right there. So that is a very interesting point.